Welcome, everybody, to the Objective One Gaming Podcast on this fine Sunday of May 4th. May the Force be with you on this Star Wars day. I'm your host, Professor of Fire and Nerd Rage, Ben Blazik. I have with me a smaller crew than last time. I had a couple of members sick with us, so we're only sitting on about 4 tonight. First with me is my partner in crime, Mr. Wonka Vision himself, Walton Draper.
Hey guys, one thing I was just noticing that on our first episode, which I'd like to plug in, that will be up hopefully by the end of this week. But Ben, you also messed up on your name last time. You get a little stumbled on Professor of Nerd Rage, Fire and Nerd Rage, and it sounded the exact same way it did last time. So
I know I kind of stumble a little bit back and forth. Maybe I'm not drinking enough. Also with us is our pseudo-intelligence roundtable. I think I'm going to mix that up from now on.
Backwards, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like it that way. Mr. Travis Palmer.
I'm not sure if that's better or worse, because I still love the name so much.
Oh yeah,
I love it so much.
It was originally pun as an insult, so I figured no matter how we mix it up, it's still going to be insulting nonetheless.
Yeah, really? You don't say. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Sweating on here. I don't have AC that works, and I have a desktop that's working like a space heater, so
it's a good
lovely
thing for springtime.
Yeah.
And last but not least, the king of ramen and mashed potatoes, Mr. Patrick Adair.
What's up, ladies and gents? Already feeling pretty good right now. I got the Kraken with me. I don't have any of my finer rums today, but I'm partaking nonetheless. Let's get this thing on the road, and I like turtles.
Turtles. So
okay,
when we did the last podcast and it was the 6 of us, my girlfriend was actually watching when she went back to visit her family, but she had her laptop with her and she was watching. And during the show, she was texting me and she was like, kind of mentioning about how everybody, was doing and stuff like that for our first episode. And the only thing she really had to say about Travis was she called him Mr. Ramen Noodle Hair.
And it's funny because he does have some ramen right there.
So
this is not even close. Come on.
Give
me a break here, okay? This isn't that
top
throw
row.
me a freaking bone.
So I had to put that in the show notes just to remind myself that she mentioned that.
Thanks.
So last time we talked a lot about H1Z1, the comparison between DayZ and stuff like that. We're going to talk a little bit about some news, just brief things that have come up over the past week. We are a few weeks behind on our show. A couple of our members have been dealing with finals at school, been pretty busy. I've been traveling a lot for my work. Just wasn't a good time, but we are going to try to keep the shows a little bit more consistent going forward and staying in line with news. So if we talk about anything that's not exactly relating to this week, we apologize, but kind of jumping into the news a little bit. Actually, you know what? I don't want to jump into the news yet.
Well, this is your show, so you can lead us on.
I don't know if it's my show exactly.
Sidetracked.
The funny thing is, he told us not to get sidetracked or comment to each other at the beginning of the show because it'll take us off topic.
But see, that's the kind of the whole thing is our show is kind of about derailing a little bit and kind of getting off topic. I know that myself and Walton have been playing a ton of the old DayZ mod this week, playing DayZ Epoch. What has everybody else been up to, Pat? What have you been doing?
Well, I got into Elder Scrolls Online, which I know is sacrilege nowadays. It's been getting a ton of shit for bugginess and being rushed out, like pretty much any other MMO that's been released over the past couple years. I've been enjoying the hell out of that, actually. I find the questing to be pretty interesting. The storylines are good. That's been taking up most of my time. I've been getting back into League of Legends a little bit, just playing ARAM games, stuff like that, just for shits and giggles. And yeah, I mean, just trying to find stuff to do mainly. But you guys have started up DayZ again. I jumped in there a little earlier. It's kind of nice being around with you guys again and going around in squads and taking shit out. So I'm probably going to be putting a lot more time into that as well.
Travis, what have you been up to, man?
You're gonna hate me for this, Ben, but I've been playing a lot of organized ops with Black Widow Company. Yeah.
I won't
As
say
he
the
covers
nickname
his
that
face.
I dubbed them for on the
Yeah.
air, but
Oh, really? I thought we were already just kind of throwing that to the wind because.
yeah, we don't have a restriction on language on our show. However, I don't want to piss off any ethnic groups or anything out there like that.
That's nice. That's nice. We can restrict that to Walt only.
Yeah.
So
I'm not a racist. Just because I'm from the South doesn't mean I'm a racist.
Doesn't mean you're not a racist either, and you are a racist, Walt.
So we've playing Epoch a lot lately. We started a couple weeks ago, and we're playing on this one server. Nobody's really going to know our names anyway, so I'll just say the server. The Dog Pound DayZ server. And it's actually been a pretty good server. The admins are mostly active for the most part, and they're pretty polite and nice. We don't, cry about anything or beg for anything like all the other players do. So we've had pretty good experiences with the admins so far. Playing over the past couple weeks has made me think a lot about like how we've been in other games and DayZ standalone. It's like, so we've been playing pretty well. We've been building a base, and we have been gathering supplies and going out and PvPing players pretty normally. And even when we're in like PvP scenarios, you still have the normal things that DayZ takes. It's all the problems with food, water, broken legs and stuff like that. And there's burping here. And there's always that risk involved in anything we're doing. And as we're playing, I'm sitting there thinking, what is wrong with this system? Like, this kind of goes back to our rant last week with H1Z1 and the whole DayZ standalone thing, which I'm sure we'll talk about even more later. But it's like, what is wrong with the system we currently have? It is enough to keep you on your toes, but it's not enough to discourage you. And I personally have been loving it. I don't even know if I have DayZ standalone still installed on my computer anymore. I'd have to go look. Playing the old mod in Epoch, I've been having a blast with Walt. We've been going out and doing all kinds of crazy shit. Me personally, I don't see why the need and the change was done and all that other stuff. But yeah, I felt like I had to get that off my chest a little bit.
I'm going to have to agree 100% with you because standalone came out, Ben. I texted you immediately. Me and Travco bought it within the first 37 seconds of it even coming online, right? We played it. It was good. And then once we got down to the core features of it, where it's just an absolute struggle to do almost anything in that game, or you die, or oh no, I need food, but I'm not hungry, and just the features that they implemented in that are overbearing. And just like you said, I don't think there's anything wrong with the mod, just for the fact that it's complicated enough, but not overcomplicated. You have to watch, what is it, 4 or 5 things: blood, food, water, heat, and your I don't know, broken leg, just random stuff like that. There's nothing that makes it overcomplicated.
Are legs broken? Yes or no? Yeah, it's the main thing that irks me the most is it just I understand putting in blood types to make it more difficult and whatnot, but when they finally do add in vehicles to standalone, and this is, of course, if they add in vehicles, that development cycle isn't looking very nice as of recent, with the lead developer hopping ship. Like, I don't feel like developing. Anyway, but as soon as you get a vehicle in that game, it is going to be easier to just kill yourself and then get back to your body in standalone than try to do everything you need to get yourself back to normal. Because you can eat, but not too much. You can drink water, but not too much. You can have blood bags, but it better be from the exact same type of blood. And you're probably going to get an infection anyway because it's still like a 25% chance of infection, I think. It's something.
You didn't sterilize that needle in the fire long enough, and sorry, that
water
you
sterilized it too long; it disappeared. Like I feel like that's where they're going. Like they've gone. It's not a game anymore. It's like we've got to simulate survival. It's like, well, okay, the zombies are still shit, so it's PvP with like annoying elements the entire way along.
Not to mention the whole, oh, well, we're going for realism, really? Because if we were going for realism, then we wouldn't have zombies, now would we? It's just,
ouch.
You know, it's just kind of my thing about that.
It is the game. It's DayZ. I mean, if you took out the zombies, you wouldn't be able to call it DayZ anymore, now would you?
It'd be Day.
Then we shouldn't be making a realistic comparison.
Then it would be Infestation Survivor Stories. I mean, wait.
So we'll get back into the whole DayZ thing as our main topic discussion is about the gaming industry and current stage of development and the way things are going over the past couple years. Couple things in news that we want to talk about. First up, I don't really want to give this topic any type of press or, of my time.
It's too late.
I feel like I guess we need to talk about it because we like arguing and bitching with each other. New Call of Duty, all right? And the trailer that came out for it. And the supposed, we're going to take a new direction on development and we're going to blah, blah, blah. I don't really care. I watched the trailer. The exact same thing that I saw when Ghosts came out, when Modern Warfare 3 came out, when I won't say it that way, Black Ops 2 came out. It's a bunch of cinematic crap. Doesn't really show us much of anything. It looks completely touched up in CGI.
Really? You mean a game? And
yeah.
Well, that's computer generated CG.
I just mean like
it was all real. It was all real.
It looks like they doctored
the
whole thing. Like that's not actually going to be what we're going to see with the cinematics in engine, in my opinion.
There looks like one part out of that whole video that I watched that would actually be in the game, but it's nowhere near gameplay. It's one of the cinematic parts where
dudes like
you
the
have to run over.
They have that's falling, where they always have some bridge falling, and it's some guy grabbing the hand of another fucking guy. That's in like almost every Call of Duty trailer they ever released. Like, oh my god, I got you, brother, and I'm just gonna grab him. Like,
no man left behind.
Battlefield helicopter scene when they're on top of the building and the helicopter crashes down below them. Battlefield 4, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. But, I mean, my only hopes for this and where I think that they can actually revive the franchise in terms of bringing back everybody that's gotten sick of it is they're going to have to get a new engine. It's desperately needed. They need a new engine. They need to work on, like, the server issues, for one. I mean, it's all latency-based. And whoever's host wins. The game has got to go in a completely different direction than what it's in now, and they've just basically been putting fresh coats of paint on something that's been done probably like 8 years ago. I mean, it's time for a drastic change. They need to just basically start fresh and see where it takes them.
Yeah, and speaking of change, they're now in a new development cycle, so they'll have plenty of time to do that change in 3 different studios now working on the game for 3 years at a time. Mind you, 3 years at a time. No fucking way.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Nah, I still think they will work 3 years at a time though, because what's the point in rotating it out? Most of the companies haven't even developed another game besides Call of Duty that has been as big as it. So why wouldn't they just
cash
stick
cow,
with
man.
one
It's
thing.
just like now what Battlefield's going to start doing, where they have multiple studios that are going to flush out a new title every year, and that's something we're also going to touch on in our discussion topic. But they're going to try to, let's just say, we'll keep pooping out the same cash cow because people are going to keep buying it, and we're going to keep releasing DLCs for stupid prices with season passes. And while that's going on, we're going to try to make this really pretty looking thing in the background, and we're going to release it and do a whole bunch of other stupid shit. Whether or not the engine is going to be updated is yet to be seen. I agree with Pat on that. Fresh coats of paint every year don't fix a broken piece of shit underneath. And yet, I still will and I don't see this changing personally, by the way. Problem with the gun system, it's a fucking gun on rails. Okay, wow, all I gotta do is pull the trigger and aim at something and it's gonna die. I don't have no consequences for shooting like I do in other shooters.
Not to mention they've been like slowly ramping up bullet damage as the games have gone on,
and you get free auto aim compensation for everything as well.
Oh yes, and also wall hacks are a feature now. I saw that. I was
I must have missed that.
No, there is a grenade thrown, and it's like Recon and Tom Clancy's Ghosts Online. The only difference is that it's a grenade, and it's not rechargeable or something that like takes up a ton of space, and you have to make sacrifices. No, it's just a grenade. You throw it, and it shows wireframe outlines of everything ahead of it.
I got you. That sounds like. Yeah, I know.
This
what you're talking about.
This is nothing new though, too, because I mean, you had heartbeat monitors and then at some point you also had there was a scope that did thermal imaging, and for light barriers you could see through them as well. So wall hacks in COD, and aim compensation in COD, and killing people in 2 shots or less from the waist in COD have been in there for a long time.
I don't know if it's. I don't necessarily know how Battlefield gun mechanics work because, I played Battlefield like 15 minutes total. But is there, does it require a lot of skill to shoot, or is it still mainly point and aim and shoot?
It's not to the point where it's point and aim just yet. It's nowhere near what it used to be. So if we were all to load up Battlefield 2 right now, and we were to compare Battlefield 2 to Battlefield 4, night and day differences. Now, if we were to compare it to, BF2 to Call of Duty, we're talking different seasons. But between BF2 and BF4, it's night and day. As far as the way the mechanics are, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a really good comparison between 3 and 4. I personally think the gun system was easier in 3 than it was in 4.
Mm-hmm.
The way 4 just feels is even
it's
now,
weird.
Yeah, it's kind of wonky. And it's not what it, at least to me personally, it's not what it felt like when the game first came out, when Battlefield 4 first came out and we were all sitting around playing on our server and stuff like that. And now that we're several updates later, I feel like it's even more different than what it used to be. But the gap is slowly closing. With each new Battlefield game, it's slowly closing, and it's getting closer to Call of Duty than it ever has been, even though it's not quite there.
They'll probably just end up leaving bullet drop on sniper rifles and just say, hey, that's enough to make us different from Call of Duty, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I get at least points is they're not just doing straight hit map, and bullets actually have traveled to the target, and we're actually going to render them as if they're real, because they are. When you shoot bullets from the gun, they are there. They're not just like laser beams. We do not have sharks. We're not aiming sharks with laser beams on their heads.
Let us play flashlight tag with everybody. That's basically all Call of Duty is.
It's like I like a certain type of arcade shooter. Call of Duty's an arcade shooter. It's not a realism shooter. I get that. People are like, oh yeah, well it's not supposed to be serious. Well, people need to stop taking it like it's serious then. People need to stop putting that whole thing out there. Oh my god, it's like the most realistic thing. Really? Because have you ever shot a gun in real life? Have you ever been in a combat situation? Because I'm pretty sure it's the farthest thing from fucking real life.
I was just about to bring up that point.
Lead
Could we be
720
biased
no-scope.
though, just because we do like that realism factor? Because as I've been playing Arma and developing myself on the computer, I've started going towards more realistic games as opposed to all the hype and the fancy stuff that Call of Duty or Battlefield offers. That just is not appealing to run around and not have to worry about anything besides 360 no-scoping people.
As far as being biased is concerned, I partially feel like we're probably a little bit biased. I mean, because for the most part, we've all been, well, a lot of us have been PC gamers for most of our lives. Walton, you're more new to it, but now that you've been gaming with us since Daisy Mod, and you've seen the light, now you are a PC gamer, and you are no longer a console gamer. Bias a little bit, but then again, at the same time, I feel like we have a broader spectrum of things that we can talk about that are actually of merit, such as, you know, hardware mechanics, software mechanics, actual game engine things that we know about working in different engines. Like, you know, some of us have actually worked inside of a game engine and actually built things. Me personally, I've worked inside Source, I've worked inside Unreal Ed, I worked inside Unreal 3 engine. You know, a few others, and I know other people as well, the Arma editor. So we understand things and the differences between them more so than the standard, hey, I own an Xbox 360 and I play Call of Duty and I'm the shit. Like, whatever, dude. You only know the world that you can see. But it's just kind of how I refer to like console gamers, as these little peasants. People are going to hate me for that. I don't really care.
Ben, that's nothing new.
Yeah,
that's completely okay. I mean, what, this is on Twitch? I mean, anybody who's watching Twitch is...
They're not doing it from an Xbox One.
Yeah.
Well, I used to watch Twitch on my Xbox One. I have an Xbox One, yes. Doesn't mean I'm a console gamer. I have it because I was going to pick up Titanfall and play with my friends. Decided not to because it wasn't worth my time. Destiny's coming out and Halo's coming out. I like the Halo games, and Destiny looks pretty cool, so I'm going to play those two on the console, but it's not going to stop me from ever continuing my PC Master Race rants and upgrading my computer and playing Tom Clancy's The Division on the computer with all my friends and dominating and doing all this other stupid bullshit. It's just when I think of console gamers, I think of them as like these kids that sit around, their parents buy them shit and they don't work real jobs and they smoke dope and they sit there and just talk about how good they are. Now, that's my personal opinion on console players, but I'll leave that one for another time.
Chris lost a lot of people.
It is what it is.
Yeah, they're gone.
I'm allowed to have an opinion and people can come challenge me on my opinion. I don't care. But going back to the whole realistic sense, yeah, there's a time and a place and a separation of games as far as, you know, what are the right realistic games to play, what are the right arcade shooters. Arcade shooters that I used to play, Unreal Tournament, it was enough difference for an arcade shooter to where it fit appropriately. Where in the future, we're wall jumping, we have rocket launchers that were hip firing, that shit made sense, okay? We don't need to apply that same type of base game to everything else, like Call of Duty. We don't need to be like, oh yeah, this is one of the most realistic shooters ever, and turn it into an arcade game.
Okay. Red Faction used to be that for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's differences between them. I like arcade shooters when it's based more around like Unreal Tournament style or something like that. Not, you know, a first-person modern day shooter type of game, which is Call of Duty. When it comes into that whole scene as far as being modern, semi-future, you know, realistic shooter, you actually have to think about what you're doing.
I just like the bigger map sizes, for one. I hate being confined into a box. It's basically a small box that it's only 3 lanes, 4 lanes, or whatever, and there's no different scenarios that can happen. You play the map 10 times, you know every spot you need to camp at, all that. With bigger open world games, even with Battlefield, that's something that it has a step up above Call of Duty because there are more than one spot you can just go in.
I get up and laugh a little bit that you called them lanes, by the way.
Well, I mean,
I mean,
it's
like the
true,
first
though,
thing
and I
that
can-
pops in my head is like League of Legends, and I'm like,
Yep.
and it's linear.
It's kind of true though,
Yay.
because in a lot of these in a lot of the arcade shooters, you do based upon the way map design has been going on for the past couple of years, you have lanes, or you can call them zones, if you will. But you have typically anywhere from 2 to 4 lanes on the map that you can go, and then you have little nooks and crannies in between all the different areas. Like I can go down this hallway, and it brings me from lane 1 to lane 2, stuff like that. But it's kind of how it breaks down a little bit. So we've been spending a little bit of time on this topic is for just a news topic. I knew we would because we all like to argue about it. A couple other things in the news. Travis, if you want to take the next piece.
Yeah, sure. Basically, CCP, which is the studio that's behind Dice and Dust 514, which kind of flopped, sort of flopped, not really flopped. I mean, it's still being played. I think the last count was, what, 100,000 users per month showing up active. And it's a PlayStation 3 only release title. And that was a while ago. But they're making a new free-to-play FPS game, and it's not going to be restricted to one console. It's going to be on PC, and they might branch out to the next-gen consoles, called Project Legion. Basically, what I'm hearing from it is it's not going to be canned arcade shooter, and they're going to try to do something a little bit more emergent where there's actually resource gathering. It's a little bit more open world, and you go in and you scavenge, and you have the choice to either sell that on the market or keep it for yourself, and then you exit, get better guns, go back in, and you can also at the same time kill people on the ground and take their money and use that on the market to buy the same stuff that people are scavenging for.
Now, is it going to plug into Eve at all?
That, yeah, it's CCP. If they made anything that didn't plug into Eve, that they would no longer be that studio.
Yes,
they haven't made anything that wasn't related to Eve in something. Like,
I had high hopes for Dust at one point, and then when they were like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be a PS3 only release," I lost all hope for it because I thought that idea was great though, because you and we were Eve players. I know Walton and Pat were not, but the whole concept of Eve is amazing in itself. And if anybody who's actually ever had the patience to sit down and go through Eve and survive the first 2 months of learning and training their skills, it's a good game, and it takes a lot to play. And I would love to see us plug into the infantry side of it, work with I know a corp in Eve, some of my friends that go back 9+ years, and they still play. We could plug into them, and we could be their infantry. And I would love to do that, because when we play other games together and we're like infantry Arma and all this other shit, we dominate face and we do some pretty good damage. I would like to see us plug into that a little bit, but I just don't know enough. I'm a little skeptical based upon what's happened with Dust.
So are you saying it's going to be kind of like War Thunder did, with Eve would be the plane side of War Thunder, and then now they're moving into the tanks, which would be quote-unquote infantry?
yeah, the only thing
that
though
what you're
is
saying?
that it's a bit like that, except that I think they're running it as a separate game. Like, you can't launch it from the Eve side, but it will be set in the Eve world where the planets you're landing on to do the scavenging exist in the Eve world, and they're supposedly saying, and they haven't really gone into depth on what system they're using for it, but the stuff you do in the Legion will actually have precedence in Eve. Like, you can get materials there and then sell them in Eve, or they're useful for something in Eve and you can sell them.
So it won't be in terms of you, like, not Halo drop, but you
Okay,
drop
so-
from the Eve ship to a
Yeah.
planet and then fight. Okay, I
Here's-
got what you're saying now.
Dust, how they were supposed to plug into each other, was supposed to be like, let's say Travis and I own a corporation in Eve, okay, and we have fleets of guys under our command, okay, and we own areas in what's called 0-0 space, okay, because that's where players can actually own stations and stuff and build stuff in the game. There's planets, okay, when Dust linked up that we were supposed to control territories on in order to be able to do certain things and own certain parts of the system. And you and Patrick owned an infantry mercenary corporation, and you ran, like, let's say 75 guys. We would contract you guys, or you would ally with us, either or, and you would insert on the ground and take ground objectives while we took objectives in space.
That was the idea.
Okay,
That was
I
not
got,
how.
I got
That
it.
was not the execution.
Yeah,
The
that was not
execution
the
was
execution.
the execution was is these infantry things are going to be fucking random is whatever, and there's nothing. There's really no such thing as infantry-based organization. Do actually has no bearing on the Eve universe. And when they call in orbital strikes, the only real linking factor is when you call in orbital strikes as a Dust 514 player, an Eve player can carry out those orbital strikes. That being said, if there's no Eve player to carry out the strike, it goes through anyway.
And like when the first original Dust 514 trailer came out, there was infantry combat that went around, and then there was like a dude who came up onto a ledge and he looked off into the distance, and there was a I think it was a Galente battleship was in the background, and it blew up, and the fucking explosion went everywhere. That was supposed to have been a real player, but they didn't execute it like that. So the worlds were supposed to cross to where you could actually see a real player in a real Eve ship. And if they blew up, you actually saw it real time. But that's not what happened.
See, that's how I thought this game that you were talking about would be. Okay, but
that's how I'm hoping it's going to be as well.
That's how I would like it to be. That would make me more interested in playing the infantry side of it.
Yeah, the main thing is that you got to keep it balanced. So the previous one, there was almost no connection whatsoever, and the only influence that was possible was Eve affecting 514. And 514 can't do shit back. They just get nuked. It's just done. Where in this one, it's kind of just off to the side, and there's trading in between, and we'll see if they do any other elements. But it would be nice if they actually did a good merger of the universes. They certainly have the server backend. They know their netcode fantastically. They have time dilation working in multiplayer universes. That shit is ridiculous to code.
Hopefully the implementation of it's a little bit better than last time, because I have high hopes. Because I like Eve. I don't have the motivation to play right now. I don't know.
Yeah. Other thing is CCP also announced the Valkyrie expansion, which is going to be so much an expansion as just sort of like, here's Eve, and here's this little thing you can enter as like a virtual dogfight simulator. Basically adding real dogfighting. No, anybody who plays Eve is going to say, well, there's dogfighting in Eve, and it takes a lot of strategy. No, it's spreadsheet simulator with guns and clicky. It's not
spreadsheet simulator.
It is. It is. So every part of Eve is spreadsheet, and it's cool because it's very strategic and it's very thought based. But at the same time, your adrenaline is like, shit, we lost that corner of the spreadsheet worth of mils of ISK. Like that is the end of it. This is actually adding in more Star Citizen-esque dynamics of Newtonian, non-Newtonian physics and actual ship
Star Citizen.
Actual ship dogfighting.
Him and his BWC.
That Star Citizen got me into BWC. We don't need to be linking that. Moving on.
Walt, you want to take us a little bit further?
Yeah, we mentioned how we were dedicated Arma fans, and just Arma 3 has released their future development plans, adding a separate launcher, full workshop, boot camps, helicopter improvement, focus on snipers, and just overall a massive amount of expansion leading in through this year and next year. Just to highlight some of the stuff that I really wanted to see was mainly the helicopters. We've all watched Shack Tack and Dyslexic do this for I don't know, at least 2 years now, where he's been flying a helicopter. People have been actively shooting off of it, and for some reason Arma has never integrated this into the game until now. They have, I don't know, it says probably late this year they'll start integrating shooting out of helicopter, better helicopter physics, which granted their helicopters are fairly decent to fly, but sure, they're a little boxy sometimes, which I'm just really excited to see that. One thing that I don't think that's necessarily needed is their boot camp, because I don't know, I feel like that's going to shift it more towards a COD where it's like, hey, you have to play a boot camp in order to get to the main mission. You have to figure out how to run around and shoot
do your reading, Walt.
I am reading.
It's not an inline requirement. It's an off to the side. Like, I don't know how to fucking play this game. There's the tutorial.
I know. I'm not saying it is going to be mandatory. I'm saying that's how I feel it's going to be.
So, question: The missions currently that are in Arma 3, I personally haven't played them just because I'm a multiplayer guy. But don't they already teach you how to play the game?
No, not really.
Nah, not necessarily.
No, a friend of mine, I got Hunter on board with Arma 3, and he downloaded the entire game onto his, well, rather, we moved the entire game because it takes way too long to download. But we moved the entire thing over to his laptop, he started playing, and the first missions were like, I hope you know how to do everything.
I mean, how hard is it to play the game, though? Like, most of the controls are the same as other games, correct?
No. Whoa,
I mean,
come on.
not
like
the
scroll
advanced
scroll
controls.
wheel to enter vehicles, K to open up the compass. I mean, shit like that.
Who uses a compass in the not the multiplayer, the main mission? I've never one time used a compass in the main mission.
Not the main mission. I use it in multiplayer religiously.
Yeah, exactly. I just
Well,
don't
and that's
see
well, that's
how,
the thing though. Is it doesn't tell you how to open up the compass. It's things like that.
I'm sorry.
I don't necessarily see a boot camp.
Me personally, when I learned how to play video games back in the day, I opened the fucking manual.
Exactly.
I read the
studied
controls and the
manual.
options menu.
I don't sit there and I don't want to play a little mission where it's like, press A to crouch. You crouch, you have to crawl under something, and it's like, X is to stand back up, and you hit X. That's too boring for me. Just, I read over the controls one time, and then whether I die 72 times playing multiplayer the first time or not, you don't need a boot camp to teach someone how to play a game.
Here's an excellent piece to that, okay? So we know, like, the whole discussions that go on in the world where some people are against video games, and then you have, like, those groups that are like, well, video games improve critical thinking, and blah, blah, blah. Hey, guess why? Because people had to learn to figure out how to play the fucking game. As we dumb down games, we will dumb down those statistics. As we start to cater to the casual people, just like World of Warcraft, catering to the casuals to where we no longer have to figure shit out, that's where we start to lose our edge on that argument as far as, hey, we're developing critical thinking, we're learning how to adapt to things faster, and we're gaining some type of intellect off of things that we're encountering in video games. As we dumb that down, we will lose all of that. That's my thoughts on it, though. So
I mean, I have to agree with you on that one.
But as far as touching on the changes to the helicopters, my God, that's going to be awesome. I mean, I fly primary pilot for us, and I don't know how many times I wish one of you could use a fucking DMR off the side of the helicopter when we're playing Daisy's mod, and we can't do that. Like,
I just want to sit there.
Yeah, you're just going to sit there and just watch. But yet we could do it in Battlefield since BF2. Totally makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you could do it since Battlefield Vietnam.
Oh yeah,
That
that's
was-
right.
One up for the casual games right there.
Battlefield Vietnam, and actually before that, you could do it in Battlefield 1942 by glitching yourself on top of the plane wing.
Very true. I'll give you those. I'll give you that. So moving forward, we also have the launch of ArcAge with its founder packs. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because this actually kind of plays into our main discussion topic as far as talking about development and stuff like that. And oh my God, we've already been talking for 40 minutes.
And I have to pee so bad it's not even fun.
You better hold it.
You're not even drinking.
I'm drinking water.
I'm drinking
you know
water
what?
of the gods.
We'll talk about that in the discussion topic because I have some things to say about that. Wolfenstein, Mr. Patrick Adair.
Yeah, so Wolfenstein, the New Order. I will be honest, I haven't really been keeping up with it too much because I've always been, when it comes to Wolfenstein, it's always been more of a multiplayer thing for me. Like with the original Wolfenstein, the multiplayer where you play as an actual class or whatever.
An actual wolf.
Was just way more intriguing to me, but I'll probably give this one a shot. I actually got a due date out on May 20th, so that's only a few weeks away. The game is actually shaping up to look pretty good, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of the better titles that's released this year, because it's been pretty dry. So, yeah.
But we still don't know anything specific about the multiplayer, or do we? Because myself,
They're
I
not
haven't
doing
been
any
keeping up on it.
multiplayer. They're not doing any multiplayer for it. I honestly, all I want from someone that is actually developing a Wolfenstein game is to implement the enemy territory multiplayer into that. Like that enemy territory in itself, if they just redid that, it would make Wolfenstein, in my opinion, probably be better than Call of Duty.
I'll give you that.
That's not that hard though.
Yeah. Coming from a Call of Duty player, it's not hard to beat the game.
We don't need five.
Well,
$60
I mean,
map
in
packs.
terms of just like intriguing people into playing it, I mean, the IP is not quite as popular as Call of Duty, yeah, but I mean, it's got Battlefield aspects and Call of Duty multiplayer, basically. And I mean, what more could you really ask for if you're the arcadey kind of shooter person?
I do want to throw one thing in for Wolfenstein. I've actually looked at the minimum specs for that. It's pretty beefy. It's an i7 or AMD relevant, and a 480 or 490, I think, for graphics card. That is the minimum. That's not recommended. That is
you don't
the
have
minimum.
a i5.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
starting to push forward in game development.
I don't appreciate when they do the, oh yeah, you need an i7. It's like there are i7s that are worse than the thing in my computer by far. I mean, i7 doesn't mean anything anymore. Yeah.
You need
the multi-threading is really going to matter, I'm sure.
Because it kills more games than it helps.
So, the main discussion area around our whole episode tonight is just about the industry in general in game development. We've been ranting, for a while now. But all of it.
What else is new?
I know, that's what we do.
We just sound like a bunch of complainers.
Hey, you know what though? People that voice their minds and their opinions, have a bearing.
Start all well yet.
Yeah, it has a bearing in the industry because unless people speak up and actually constructively voice their minds and their opinions, shit will never change in the gaming industry. Going on Facebook and posting on photo comments to a fucking game developer's page saying this shit sucks doesn't change the industry.
Ben, that's constructive criticism.
Yeah, you want to know what changes the industry? Saying it sucks and then going on a 40-minute rant of all the different things they could have done that would have been better.
Power on. So, with our main discussion topic, we're just talking about the gaming industry. Current way development is done versus, let's look at things that way they were done like 10 years ago. We're seeing more things such as early access, pre-releases, cash grabs. We're cloning each other's works or each other's work as soon as we see it come out. Let's compare for a couple minutes. All right, let's try not to go on for an hour about this, but early access. All right, now for one, I love Steam. Steam is great. It's a great platform for gaming, buying games, storing all of your games, social networking, and community management, and so on. Greenlight was an amazing idea because it allowed indie developers to kind of get their shit on the market in an easier fashion and get it to the masses. However, does not mean that large gaming development companies should be doing this as well. And people can argue this all they want. When Dean Rocket Hall sided with Bohemia Interactive to make DayZ standalone, he was no longer a small developer. I don't care who you are and what you say. That changed big time. So
you're working with a AAA title development company. You're not.
Yeah, well, he was internally developing the mod in his free time. He was already not an indie developer. He was part of Bohemia. He was a paid developer, just not for doing that.
Yeah, it's not Cube World. You and your wife working on a laptop in your basement. That's
Cube World guy. Cube World guy. Boom.
Done. Yeah, that is the actual indie developer. Indie doesn't mean anything but independent people. That means small studios. That means you don't have.
That doesn't even mean studio.
You don't have there is no studio, and you don't have a 50-lawyer team sitting there munching Cheetos in the back, waiting for the next IP to go on sue business. I
personally wouldn't be Cheetos, but that's just me.
I don't. Cheetos would get all over. It would get all over their suits, their nice Louis Vuitton suits. But that's.
The handshakes would be disgusting.
As far as early access goes, okay, so DayZ goes early access, right? We go early access during an alpha stage. I mean, so let's put the game out for $30 and let's let people just grab that shit up.
And, we all fell for it. That's the thing. We all fell for that cash grab.
Well, Arma did the same thing, but, I mean, that wasn't necessarily...
They had something to work with, though. When when Rocket released Daisy standalone, tell me anything that took him 2 years to develop. What took him 2 years to develop out of that early alpha he released?
Honestly, nothing because the base was already there.
He
Well,
updated
Didn't
the
even-
graphics. It took him 2 years to update some graphics, and the game was already 10 times worse than the mod was.
Technically, he could have
honest.
just used the same engine altogether and just let the graphics be. I would have been completely fine with it if it would have made the game any better.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying, and this is an issue with modern day developers of recycling content. But when it comes to this kind of thing, when you're going to, instead of recycle content, make entirely new content that looks exactly the same,
Yeah.
like this guy went way out to make new netcode, new everything, and a lot of people were just saying, why don't you just like take Arma 2 and remove a lot of the stuff that doesn't need to be in there, like language packets and some of the advanced netcode for in-game chats, radio chats. Like, there's so much in Arma.
Yeah, they could have trimmed it down, but I mean, a lot of the issues was that they were trying to do it server side. Like, they wanted to have their own master servers and everything. They wanted to be reliant on the clients anymore, like anyone having a server in their bedroom or
They
something
wanted
like
to
that.
move away from the hackers, essentially, which is one of the
Exactly.
biggest struggles. The hackers and the glitching inside of DayZ was probably the biggest problems to the game itself. Now, I can understand moving to an updated engine to try to resolve some of that, but the shit that was released was completely unnecessary. We don't need to put a game out in alpha stages, let people buy it, because all you're going to do is you're going to kill the game. Right now, I have no interest in playing standalone. That is me personally. It has way too much shit inside of it. I don't want to play a realism survivor game. Period. I don't.
And this is where it really comes in is there's 3 different types of funding a game independently before it is released. You have the pre-order crap, which is typically before a game that's already made and is for some major developers, so you know they're not going to like just ship out like a gif of a pile of poo and just call it done. I mean, and then you also have your
Unless they're EA.
Yeah, unless they're EA, in which case they'll give you that pile of poo, but they'll also tell you it has server errors and it'll be fixed shortly.
But you get a premium pack for it, though.
Yeah.
God, don't get me started on fucking premium. I just,
The second one is early access, where a game that's in development, like Daisy Standalone, gets released and people can get into it right away. And it's a good idea if the game is close to finished, because you don't have that much to wrap up. These guys are probably spending more catering to the users that are already in the game and making sure all their servers are working properly and making sure there's no hackers and checking in all of that than they are actually progressing the game. That's a major issue of that. And then there's my favorite, Kickstarter, for a legitimately indie published something they need money for and some actual new idea. This, you throw money at it, you get it when it finally comes out. If it doesn't come out, you get a refund legally. That is in the contract of Kickstarter. They have to refund you, otherwise they get sued. A recent company just got sued in the state of Washington because they didn't deliver, like, it was a playing cards Kickstarter, and they didn't deliver a couple months later. But it's a system that works because the game isn't going to be ruined before it's even finished, because you release it when it's finished. You don't have to do any, and a lot of Kickstarter things are releasing in beta and alpha when the game's in terrible condition. I don't understand it. You just release it when it's done.
Yeah.
and you know, back in the day, alpha testing and beta testing actually used to mean something. Like, hey, we're here to test and find bugs.
Yeah, it was testing. It was actual. That's the key.
We didn't pay to be a part of this. We were people who were dedicated members of the community, always in the forums, and community managers got a hold of us and said, hey, would you like to come, help test this behind closed doors? It's got an NDA. You can't talk about it. You can't post it all over the internet. Come test the game and find bugs for us, because we are possibly 6 months away from releasing the full product, and we need people to help. Now people think it's a rite of fucking passage. Like, oh my God, I deserve to be in the beta to play an unfinished product. It is my right as a gamer to do these kinds of things.
It's my Third Amendment to be part of this game.
So an example, if you go onto Facebook and you look at Heroes of the Storm, and constantly on their Facebook page people are posting beta key please, when can I get into beta key, blah blah blah, like it's a rite of passage. Number one, the game is in a technical alpha. We are testing server shit. We are making sure that the network works and that everything is going to work when we go into beta stage to test balance issues. There are no such things as beta keys right now for the game. They don't exist. The only way you get into the game, which is an alpha, is that Blizzard flags your account. People are not listening. It's destroying the gaming industry, in my opinion. We are filling all these casual gamers' heads full of nonsense like, oh, hey, you can buy into early access to the game that's not a finished product, which is basically giving me full legal standpoint to do whatever I want with the game, and you can't say shit about it, and you can't get a refund because it's in the terms and conditions that this game is unfinished. And, well, personally, if I decided to remove all the character skins one day and replace them with poop and then quit development, I can do that.
Which I think that leads us into what we were going to talk about in the gaming news. No, with Archage. They had 3 sets of Founders Packs that you can buy into, which the game is an alpha, I believe. I don't know. But it's been testing all around the world, like Russian, Korean servers, all that. And, I mean, $150 to get into the alpha, that's a pretty heavy price tag. But, I mean, granted, they do give you more items for it. But just like you said, they could take your $150 and in development now, release the quote-unquote full game, and there you go. You just wasted $150 without seeing a full finished product.
One of our guys did that as well, Josh. You know, he paid the $150. He's now in the Arcade Alpha, and he's been playing it like crazy. Which, granted, hey, man, that is your money. You can do what you want with your money. You work for your money. I'm not going to tell you what to do with it. That's fine. I debated on doing it. I'm not going to do it. For number one, it's an unfinished product. I don't know what I'm getting. Number two, all my shit, and this is an even bigger piece to alphas and pre-releases, it's going to be wiped before release. Everything you're doing now is a waste of fucking time. Unless you are an actual tester, someone who gets on the forums, you are reporting every bug you find. You're trying to duplicate those bugs to make sure that the game developers find them, they correct them. If you're not one of those people, you are wasting your time. Period.
Yeah, why would you want to put 30 hours into a game that just in 2 months you're going to have to put the same 30 hours into, and you didn't help the game out whatsoever? You wasted $150 to not further the game whatsoever.
Well, you might have been like one of 10,000 to help with server load issues. That is your contribution.
Oh, thank God.
You're the fucking packet plebe that's testing to see the servers can handle it.
Pat, were you gonna say something?
Well, I was just gonna say that's like the issue with quite a few of the betas I've gotten into, like SWOTOR and recently I added Elder Scrolls, and like once you've played through it in beta and your shit's wiped, I mean, I'm not necessarily looking forward to doing all that again, even if the content is slightly better. I know with like Star Wars, I had to go and play a completely different faction from the one that I started with on beta, just so that I had interest in it. Yeah, I mean, betas, they kill a lot of the content before the game's even released, so they really need to be careful with how many people they're giving out this content to, because if you're just giving it out to everybody and they're all playing it before the game's released, you're not going to have anything that's going to draw people in when the game's actually out.
Yeah. See, let's think about the way things were done, let's say 10 years ago, okay? A really good example of this is Blizzard Entertainment. Okay, people are going to dog this for whatever it is because they hate World of Warcraft or whatever. Patrick and I are Blizzard fans, so we're not going to dog it, and we're not going to be fanboys about it, but...
Oh, I will be. But...
and I mean, I'm wearing a Heroes shirt, so... what they do, there's nothing wrong with what they do. They're still following that same development cycle, and they're not giving in to the masses. World of Warcraft, every expansion, They do their internal alpha testing, friends and family. They go to closed beta. They hand out closed beta invites mainly to community people, streamers, YouTubers, members of press, media, fan sites, people who sometimes go to maybe like PAX East. They were giving out invitations. Closed beta takes place. They gather everything from the closed beta and fix as much as humanly possible. Granted, it's a massive multiplayer online game, so you're always going to have problems. But they fix it as much as possible before release. It goes into release. Nobody at any point in time paid any amount of money to get into a test. Nobody did anything. Nobody paid any amount of money during that test to get in-game currency to carry over or anything like that. StarCraft 2. I remember when StarCraft 2 closed beta first came out. I remember it was in February. Oh my god. I remember watching streams religiously and YouTube videos and Husky StarCraft and all of them because I'm a huge StarCraft nerd. Same thing. It was selected invites of professional gamers, press people, all that. You didn't pay to get into it. The only thing you could do is you could pre-order the game. That was it. Hearthstone. Different type because it's a free-to-play card game. You couldn't buy your way in. The only way you could buy your way in was if you bought a beta key off of eBay. And it kept everything... they did wipes, but it kind of mostly kept your information for the most part going through. Same thing with Diablo. You didn't buy your way into the beta. That is... It's not exactly old school development for the most part. It's old school development. But Blizzard has not changed their ways. And is Blizzard still kicking ass? Absolutely. All these other companies that are trying to reinvent the fucking wheel, are they winning? No, they're not. They're not even coming remotely close to winning.
Nor inventing a new wheel.
Exactly. All it is just, and this is my opinion, and hopefully you guys have more on it, but I just think it's personally cash grabs. The gaming industry, to me, back 10 plus years ago, of course everybody was there to make money. You had to make money because it was your job. You needed to survive, and you needed to grow and expand, to do better things, to push the technology further, to rebuild the engine and so on. We did it for the passion. We did it to create awesome things and break new grounds. I feel like nobody remembers that at all, and nobody even acknowledges that that's originally what we're here for. We are gamers, and we have a love for what this stuff is, and this is why either A, we're developers that are doing this, or B, we're players that are buying this. I just feel like it's a lost passion and feeling that nobody understands anymore.
I don't know. I just think that's kind of true. As we've seen with many other games, the developers show us part of it, and then they're like, hey, here you go, have at it. And we all throw money at it, and then they just take our money. And they love it. Rocket's made $3-4 million off this.
I think I'm gonna have to double check this. You keep talking.
Oh, are you checking how much money he's actually made? Okay. Well, anyway, I don't know. What's the point of that? How... I just think they're stuffing their pockets with it. I don't see the need for them to need $4 million to continue a alpha game. If they were in that much of a hole to begin with, the game's not going to succeed no matter what, even if you released it just now.
Not to mention, why did we go into an alpha pre-release with a year estimated? I don't know if I want to say guideline or deadline. It's not a deadline, but just a year out from beta. Who does that?
You can't even call that an alpha. That's not even a game. If you were a year away from beta, you can't even call that a game.
And then that goes back to old school development. Why are you releasing an IP in such an early alpha stage to the public? Why? Why are you doing that? You are not a Kickstarter project. You should not be doing that. You're taking the entire game, and when I say game, I'm talking about game development and the process of how we do things, and you're flipping it upside down on its fucking head. All right? I work with government information solutions and military readiness applications, okay? We do not flip shit down or upside down and just say, oh, yeah, we're going to do it this way. We have a strict process of how we do things. Why? Because it works. It's how we get the product to the fucking customer. And the customer in this case is the Defense Department. You don't need to flip the shit upside down and reinvent. It's just unnecessary.
Jeffrey.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check that I was right. It had just recently, in the past couple of days, it reached 2 million copies of standalone sold.
So 2 million times $30.
There has never been a sale, so every single one sold for $30. Obviously, they take a little bit less than that, but that is $60 million of money spent on a game that people have played for maybe a month and then ditched because they don't like the state that it's in. It's not in a good state. And
I played it for 2 days and did, and not even 2 days. 24 hours.
I'm throwing
probably
top
2
end
hours
figures.
Combined.
I'm throwing absolute top end figures. It's just the game is not in a state where there's really any point of playing it for long periods of time. There's no vehicles in. The gunplay is still sketchy at best. You still have lag issues. Their netcode isn't maxed up. You still have hackers in the game. Despite all their trying, they're still in there and they're still screwing around.
I mean, I would rather drop $30 just to play Epoch, to be honest.
I would gladly pay $30.
Give them the money to keep developing it the way that it's going, because I mean that thing is leaps and bounds over what DayZ will ever be standalone. So,
I agree with that. Personally, I don't care too much that there aren't vehicles in standalone. My personal gripe with this standalone is the survival system and the state of the game as is with those systems in place. The only people that are really playing standalone right now are like the top popular streamers because it's their job, man. They got popular playing DayZ, so they need to keep playing DayZ to keep their fans happy. However, my friends list, my Steam friends list is like, I don't know, it's like a couple hundred long or something like that. Nobody's playing DayZ standalone. Everybody's playing Arma 3, Arma 2, Operation Arrowhead because they're playing DayZ mod, and other games like that. We're not playing DayZ standalone anymore. You're talking to old DayZ standalone players, guys who played the first month the standalone mod was out, or not standalone, I'm sorry, DayZ mod was out, back when finding a car was so rare that you almost busted a nut, and you had to spend hours repairing it because you had to go find loot for it, and there was no helicopters on the map, and we ran 13 kilometers across the map to get from point A to point B. All right. So if anybody even remotely questions my DayZ experience, I'll kick you in the face. I don't
and
care.
you risk putting all of your valuables in a tent that will not save.
You risk putting everything in a tent that, number one, might not save. Number two, people could
might
steal
get run over.
I don't know. I just had so much fun doing that because I didn't have to worry about 50 million ways to survive. I had to keep all my shit in check and then worry about players. As to now, I have to worry about my goddamn blood sugar level and make sure that I'm not going to get type 2 diabetes, but yet if I eat all this other shit to make myself full because a can of food doesn't make me full, I might throw up. No, I'm sorry, unnecessary. I play life every day as it is. I don't need to play life in my downtime.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry to cut into you, Ben, here, but I had an excellent idea to prove this point even further because some people need numbers, and I'm gonna have to pull my calculator out for this one because I need to do this real quick just for myself.
Calculator.
No, because I actually have the number of people in game right now. It is 19,468. Almost everybody who plays DayZ got it through Steam. And it is an always online game. It's MMO. There is no single player. So if you are connected to Steam, you have to be playing this. Okay, 2 million copies.
And only less than 20,000 are playing. That is absolutely ridiculous.
On
And
a
should
Sunday.
show them.
Is there any way you can pull up the numbers on mod and see how many people are playing mod?
Well, the issue with mod is, you could check Operation Arrowhead and see how many people are in that.
But
I mean,
it's not
that will
guaranteed.
that will be slightly higher than the number of people that are in mod, but I mean, the number of people that play normal Operation Arrowhead nowadays, now that Arma 3's out. I'd say that's fair. I'd say that's fair.
Kind of on Commander, I thought Daisy Commander actually had something that you could pull up.
Daisy Commander's probably got a good.
I just think it shows. It should show to Rocket how crappy his game is. He absolutely destroyed DayZ mod by turning it into standalone.
Well, he didn't destroy the mod, but he destroyed what DayZ is. Because the mod's still kicking and people are still working and developing the mod. And thank you to people out there working on the mod that still care about it, and to the people, such as the admins that are running Dog Pound, such as Hooch and Zero and all those guys, for giving us a fun, playful experience. Thank you.
And as Moots brought up in chat here, he said Wasteland for Arma 2, so we would have to calculate in Wasteland, Takistan Life, all that if we took the number off Bohemia's side or wherever you would get it from Operation Arrowhead. Thank you, Moots, for that.
True.
Oh yeah, the other issue is if I were to pull it off Operation Arrowhead, a lot of people are using beta copies so that DayZ mod works properly. So that actually I would not be able to get a number for that.
That's fine, but I feel like we've made our point. As far as out of all those people that bought standalone, only so many are playing it, which we've talked a lot about DayZ on this topic of game development, but it just kind of emphasizes a really good point. Another game that emphasizes this point really well is Rust.
I like to run around with my dick out all the time. That's what I do. That's all that game's about.
Not only running around with your dick out the whole time, we're not even a zombie survival game anymore. That's how it started, was a zombie survival game. Now, zombies are gone. They're out of the game.
They took zombies out of the game. I have not looked at it since probably last time Frankie played it. You said they took zombies out of the game.
Yep.
It's a radiation and PvP survival game now.
Yep.
Wow.
Those are the animals that attack you.
The bear
man,
and
the fucking
the wolf
animals
that comes at you.
Man,
I saw him get killed by a bear.
Now, the one thing
Better
that I
hit him
wanted to
with
give
my rock.
Rust credit on was the crafting system and what it took to get guns and get things that you needed. I was trying to give him credit for it and blah, blah, blah. Pigeon bought me a copy of Rust, and that's when I was playing it, and then Pigeon stopped playing, so I stopped playing. I personally feel releasing it like it did, and granted, he put all his disclosures out there, hey, it's an alpha, blah, 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 it's an unfinished product. I personally feel like releasing the game like that early killed it, because why would you make a decision to rip zombies out of the game if you were a zombie survival game?
Yeah. Well,
now it's Rust.
The vacuum cleaner, so.
Yeah, it's a Rust survival game now. It's closer to its original origins of the name, and that you are defending against things that are poorly implemented,
That's
such
what
as radiation.
I wish that we could all get together and freaking do 7 Days to Die. Because I honestly think that game, it was going in the right direction. I haven't kept up with it recently, but I mean, that's all strictly survival against zombies. I don't even know if there is a PvP aspect really to it yet, but...
No, it's supposed to be working together. And with how small, the servers are typically just hosted by individual game sessions. So.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get into the game right now without buying it, right?
No, yeah, you gotta buy it. That's a upstart.
And that's another thing about game development that I miss. Demos!
Yeah.
Like a demo, like a free demo of like a small piece of the game. Why can't we have that back?
And they picked the best part, and I ended up buying it because that part was amazing. Then the rest of the game ended up being shitty.
It's what we did.
They still have demos, Ben.
Barely.
No. They still have demos. Instead of buying the most recent Call of Duty, you can go get a cracked version of any one of the previous ones. And it's almost the entire game.
I'm not one typically for pirating. That's just me. I like to support game developers.
But
that's just me.
Yeah, I'm all for it for COD. It's already gone down.
What did happen to the demo
with COD? Honestly.
Or excuse me, instead of pirating it, you can go out and buy all of the used copies that people or casual gamers have cast aside when the most recent one came out.
So GameStop, which might not even be around much longer, can screw you.
Just
pay
do
$3 for the game.
Call up anybody who has a console, and they'll have some COD game lying around. I almost guarantee you. I have 5.
Speaking of GameStop, I could totally see it as just being a fucking like a red box now, and you just roll up to it with a USB stick, and you buy a game and just put your USB stick in there, and you're good to go.
But that makes sense.
Your
you
one
can't do that.
terabyte USB stick?
Yeah, like if you're at home and you're one of those people who live out in the boonies, and you got to make your trip out to GameStop.
Hey, what? See, this was taken off the list of things we were going to talk about today. But how about that 128 terabyte cassette disc?
Oh,
Should put it on that.
You put it in your Walkman.
All of GameStop on
Yeah,
one cassette
seriously.
disc. Thanks.
You can pull out in your 1960s Cadillac, or I guess 1990s Cadillac with the
What
CD
about
player on it.
the
What is
2 billion
cassette?
one? They have that one that's 2 billion. That's a track.
2 billion terabyte cassette tape. Okay.
Yeah, this is an actual thing, by the way. That
No one's ever gonna get.
it. Wait,
You'd have to buy another part for your computer just to use it.
Well, come on. This is another thing about PC supremacy. How much is that part really going to cost?
I don't know if
And especially, how much is that part going to cost 2 years down the line? Because
That is your PC, basically.
I'm sitting on a Blu-ray reader and writer at 12 times speed, $40.
Yeah,
That's
but
okay.
I don't know. I feel like they could monopolize this and make it
They
so
will. Oh, they will.
Exactly, and make it so where they can charge whatever price they want.
Well, who the fuck else has a cassette patent for 100 and whatever technology they're using for getting that amount of terabytes on a cassette? That's obscene.
It's called large amounts of reel of
It's
tape.
just so much data for it to have to go through for you to get to something. Like,
Oh,
I feel as though like the more of that you use, the longer it's going to take for it to actually find stuff.
Well, see, the thing is it's not actually that large a tape. What they were doing, they're using a technology that they're basically able to take certain spans of tape, and they're able to put terabytes on an inch of tape.
Wow.
That's how they're getting up to the 128 some. Is that? See, we're gonna end up talking about this
128
anyway.
inches
I'm gonna
of
have
tape.
my way anyway, Ben.
No,
Well,
we're
it's not-
not.
it's
No, we're
the
not.
You
'cause
can't
we're shifting
remove
directions.
this.
No, we're
I'm
not.
in control. No. Yeah, sure. We want to move on to the other hardware then.
No, we're gonna go back to game development.
Oh,
And
okay,
we'll
fine.
talk
fine.
about hardware another time. And we've
Shut
been ranting about this
up.
for a little while, so we're gonna slowly come to a close on it. But I know I kind of want to go around the table on this, but my personal opinion is what I'd like to see from game development in the current state of the industry is going back to the way things used to be. Okay, we're gonna release a title anywhere between the $40 and $60 range. We're not gonna be able to pay for early access because me personally, I don't like it. I don't want them to talk about a game 4 years before it comes out. All right, I want to know about the game a year and a half, maybe 2 years at the max
The
before it comes
Division.
out.
The Division is doing that right now.
We're at 1 year. We don't know yet, so no, don't jinx me, bro. I want to go
2018.
back to non-premium bullshit, like with Battlefield, where now I have to buy the game twice over to have access to everything. I don't. No,
I
unnecessary.
essentially saved what, like $15-20 in the end for having to buy them separately.
Well, you do get into the first spot in server queues, which is nice.
It's unnecessary too. Why
Yeah, it's
should
also
why
stupid,
have
though.
why
By the way-
pay to get into a
Exactly.
server?
You only have
Yeah.
that issue on popular servers, and there's like maybe a handful of them on.
Yeah,
on
but
all the game
it just
sites.
pisses me off that they did that because it's not like an additional queue. If 2 people were to try to get in the server at the same time, the premium one goes first. No, like there's a waiting queue here, and people in premium get jumped ahead of everybody in queue and go in front. So if there's 60 people waiting to get in a really popular server to hang out with Frankie on PC or whatever, the premium
In
ones are
1080p.
you're never gonna get in unless you have premium. That's
Like, I
stupid.
could add that in.
That is such a cash grab. That is ridiculous.
1080p.
Yeah, 1080p.
But now
Now
that's
it's-
1080p
that's
is
a
no longer
terrible
the
name,
highest.
though.
His name's wrong now. He does it in 4K.
Oh God. No,
Not
we
even-
are not.
not even gonna touch
we're,
it.
We're
Not
not,
even
even
gonna touch
trying to
it.
bring that in there.
Speaking of 4K, so
Yeah.
But no, I want to see old. I like how Blizzard is doing their development. They're not, for right now, we know that there's still projects that they're working on. Nobody knows what they are. So we can go into the assumption right now, based upon past history over the past 20 years of development, they're not following the masses and conforming to what kiddies want. They're continuing to do what they want to do, and I applaud them for that. And I hope more companies continue to follow suit. I don't want to be paying for these it's nice to get into a game when you see it and you're like, man, I wish I could touch that. And they're like, oh, well, for only a low cost of $99.99, you can get into the game. Now, it's nice to be able to touch the game, but then you're disappointed. If they remove that altogether and that was no longer an option, I wouldn't complain.
They're turning it into paid programs.
Here's an excellent idea. It's called demos and pre-orders.
Now, Moots is bringing up a point about Star Citizen in chat. There's a difference between a Kickstarter project and a larger company doing.
That was a huge Kickstarter project.
Yeah. Kickstarters are fine. I don't have a problem with Kickstarters. I have a problem with companies that don't need Kickstarter for funding, that have a publisher to fund them, and they're going out and doing this shit anyways just to make more money. That's where I have the problem. If you have a company that is backing you with investors to do this without Kickstarter, you shouldn't be following that development cycle. You should not be copying everything that's right next to you. Everybody is cloning the shit out of each other. Infestation Survivor Stories, which used to be War Z, as soon as DayZ Mod became popular and everybody was streaming it, even back in the days of Own3D.tv when it was still operational, War Z came out of nowhere. Photoshopped a bunch of images, made a bunch of bullshit, sold packages, got me. Hello, I bought a legendary package for $60, so they got me. I'm now more wise to that shit. I'm not just dropping money on packages. I want to see the old shit. If you need a Kickstarter, like for example, if I were to start a gaming development company with Travco and we were to work in the Unreal 4 engine, depending on how far we wanted to go, we would probably start a Kickstarter because we don't have financial.
We would start a Kickstarter anyway. We don't have shit for money.
We would need financial backers to do our project. But if Blizzard Activision came up to me and was like, "Hey, we want to publish what you're doing," by no means would I allow them to even pull up in a meeting. We need to do a pre-release. Wouldn't happen. Shutting it down. That's me personally. What I want to see of the gaming development industry. I'm going to leave the table open for you guys because I'm ranting. But
that's what this is all about. You just talk and we sit here and look pretty.
And I keep trying to segue things to the next point and you keep shooting it down. I'm trying to be clear like a 4K screen, man.
God. Personally, what I'd like to see
keep doing it.
is just kind of straight along the lines of what Ben says. I would like people not to know about games until they have actual content, something that I can actually see, real gameplay released no more than a year in advance. I do not want to sit around waiting for a game to come out 4 years and then I get it, and by the time it comes out, I've wanted to play it so much that I just hate it. I don't even want to play it anymore. I want a game that it comes out, it's good, it's finished, no more alpha, no more beta. Like Travco said, I've never even played a demo. I went from console games where there wasn't a demo. You just bought the game whether you liked it or not. You just dropped $60 on Call of Duty and you either hated it and smashed the disc, which I've done twice, or you stuck with it and played with it. And when I came to computers, there's no demo. How do I know if I like a game unless I just buy it?
There used to be demos. Demos used to be the way of things. You downloaded the free demo. It was either a timed demo of it gave you an hour's worth of gameplay and then after an hour it kicked you out, or it was a specific mission if it was a single player demo. And now nobody wants to do that anymore.
I actually lied. I've played a demo before. I forgot. Xbox 360 had demos once they came up with the marketplace. My bad.
Yeah, though, mind you, that was indie titles only, though.
True. Oh, no. Call of Duty would come out with a demo a year after the game was released, where it wasn't even relevant anymore.
You mean when the other game was released?
Yeah, the new one came out.
Yeah.
And then it's hey, here's a COD 2 demo after we're on COD 4. It's oh, thanks for that.
I'm right there with you, buddy. I just hope we don't destroy the industry so much and ruin everything, because that's all anybody is anymore, is they're kind of greedy. And man, I don't need millions of dollars to be happy. I just want to be happy. Like,
I don't know. I think the millions of dollars would help.
Millions of dollars would help, but I'm not saying I require it to be happy. I don't need to be the most greedy son of a bitch on the face of the earth and try to do whatever I can to get my way.
That's why you're not a successful businessman like EA or anyone else.
Oh, well, I mean, the definition of successful is kind of flimsy.
Hold on, that. Yeah, successful.
Okay,
I hope they have
They're
good
just the
investment
first people
plans,
that came
because
up.
they're going to be fucked getting money in the future here. Like, they've ruined their own marketplace. People say EA with disdain now.
I would personally love to develop a game and just do it and release like a product that people are actually like, hey, I had fun playing this. That's really all I care about. But maybe I'm an old breed at the age of 25. Maybe I'm an old breed of person.
I don't know. I had
that
fun
doesn't
playing
exist
that one
anymore.
game you developed.
Say what?
I had fun playing that one game you developed with my face on it.
Maybe a project that we should go back and finish, and also projects that I'm thinking about working on now that Unreal 4 engine is a lot easier accessible, and at $20 a month. But that's discussion for another time. Travis, you got anything?
I got a 4K monitor that I need to talk about.
And moving on to Patrick.
We're not talking Patrick. All you.
I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to talk about, but just one thing that I've been pretty interested in, since I am a WoW nerd and a Blizzard nerd. You might be a little interested in this too, Ben. They were doing the proving grounds in Warlords of Draenor for you to be able to start queuing for dungeons now. That basically tests you on what you know, and then it guides you on things that you don't know. So you know how it is when you get into a group full of people that have absolutely no fucking clue what they're doing. They're going to have to kind of go through some loopholes before they can actually start the game. I'm thinking, like, why the hell hasn't this been done before? But this should definitely patch things up in terms of people getting discouraged with playing with other people because they don't know how to play, or those that get discouraged from playing with noobs and they don't really want to hold their hand through everything. It's just a good move by Blizzard altogether, in my opinion. I just thought that was a good move on their end, so I wanted to bring that up. But yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And that also randomly reminds me, fitting into this whole episode, Carbine Studios. I applaud you.
M4 carbine or like
no?
Yeah.
I applaud. It's
a carbine. Carbine.
I applaud Carbine Studios for the way they've been developing WildStar, and how they're gonna keep with the similar flow of how an MMO should be. Now, granted, if you pre-ordered, you got access to beta weekends. I won't touch that one, but full price for the game. They're still requiring a subscription fee. It's not going to be fucking pay to win, free to play, where we're going to buy a whole bunch of crap in game and blah, blah, blah. Subscription fee every month. Or it's also got the EVE model, where you can sell game time in-game for in-game currency to other players, just like EVE. So I applaud them for doing that, following that path, and doing things pretty close to the way they should be done. And I hope more companies follow suit. I think this whole free-to-play market is getting a little flooded with people who think that their game should fit in this genre. Bottom line, it doesn't apply to every game concept. That's just all there is to it. It doesn't matter. So, that being said, does anybody have anything else?
Just to add on to that, I mean, for Christ's sake, if you're going to make an MMO and you're going to have it compared to WoW, I mean, there's no doubt about that. WoW is kind of the standard nowadays, but if you're going to make an MMO, do not release it without it having more than what WoW has currently. WoW is now the baseline for all MMOs. If you're not throwing stuff out there that WoW does not have, including what WoW does have, you're going to fail. It's just plain and simple. There's nothing innovative about what you're doing until you take the mold that WoW has set and you improve upon it. Just want to throw it out.
Absolutely agreed. So we are going to wrap up. We've been ranting for a while. A couple things as we continue with the show. We all play together, so we're not just a bunch of random faces across the internet that like to bitch. We all play games together, and we hang out on a TeamSpeak server. We play Arma 3 right now. We play DayZ mod Epoch.
Ooh, you
we did
almost
not-
said standalone.
Yeah,
You
it was
almost
close.
said
It was
standalone.
I heard
close.
the S in there like a lisp.
Yeah, it's hard to not say it. We play mod Epoch. We play a bunch of other random various games. We are going to be building up a community around, people who just want to come hang out and shoot the shit, like-minded people, who want to have a good time. We're going to be playing WildStar when it comes out. We'll be playing
I don't know who this we is.
myself and others like Moots and Loft.
I'll probably give it a shot myself.
I'm hoping that Patrick's going to play it, but he is, he's going to be pretty WoW hard heavy. I like WildStar for the fact that it takes us back to the days when you actually had to put effort into playing an MMO, and it wasn't just face rolling across the keyboard and being really easy, which is why I like it. And I would hope that you guys would try it, but you guys aren't, those type of RPG people, and that is what it is.
Me and Travis cover the shooters.
We'll be playing WildStar. Patrick and myself will be playing Warlords of Draenor, and hopefully Patrick will start a guild for us.
I'll think about it.
we'll continue to play Arma games as always. We definitely look for anybody who wants to join us in some Wasteland or anything like that.
Heroes of the Storm.
Heroes of the Storm. I am on another podcast for Heroes of the Storm called the Nexus Podcast. You can find us at heroesofTheNexus.com. I'll be playing on a competitive team. I'll be shoutcasting for tournaments on that, and we'll also be playing together as a group in OBJ1. So if you want to, have a group of people to play Heroes of the Storm with, we'll be playing that as well. Tom Clancy's The Division, which is going to be huge for us, really huge. I've already.
Whenever that game fails, I'm not going to play games anymore.
Yeah, if the game flops, I might leave the gaming industry in general.
We'll all have a computer smashing party.
Yeah, we'll all just take videos of us getting together, meeting up in real life, and blowing up our computers with bricks of Semtex. But that's gonna be big for us. I'm already gonna take 2 weeks off for that game when it comes out. So basically, there's a lot of things that we play and do. We might play Star Citizen. Travco has prior engagements with a bunch of other guys that he's gonna leave us for. But I would like to give it a try, but he's probably going to backstab and leave.
I'm not going to leave.
So we're here to play games as well. We're not here just to bitch. We like to get real and just hang out and have a good time. You're more than welcome to hit us up on our website, obj1.net.
And that is the number one, not
yes.
O-N-E.
obj1 number one, not spelled out, .net. You can find us on Twitter at objective1. The number one cast, so at objective1cast. Send any of us a message if you want to hang out on TeamSpeak. I don't know if our TeamSpeak's publicly posted on the OBJ1 site anymore, but it might be. You can get a hold of me at Stacks and Packs on Twitter. That's STAKSNPAKS. Walt, where can we get a hold of you, bud?
You can find me on Twitter at Walton, WALTON 565, and also on Steam at that same name.
Mr. Patrick, where can we get a hold of you?
You can get me on Twitter at Judgment, JUDGMENT_218.
And Travis, I know you're not a Twitter speaks kind of guy. There's talk out in the Twitter speaks. Sorry, I love Ice Cube in the movie 21 Jump Street. Is there any way anybody, or do you even want anybody to get a hold of you?
I don't want no one to get a hold of me now.
He's going to live in his closet forever.
Let me out of here. Jeez, yeah. I mean, I do a lot of my communications directly through email. Best way if you want to get a hold of me is to get into our TeamSpeak, and the information on that is actually publicly available on the site. But you have to know where to look. There's a TeamSpeak widget, and if you pay attention, you'll get the IP from that widget, and it'll even launch it for you. So
See, we're holding people's hands now.
Oh,
Well, no,
God.
we're not holding people's hands. I'm not even fucking like. Come on. There's like 30 links there.
Look at that muscle flex. So anyways, it's been a good show, guys. We're here to just rant and speak our minds. I don't know if we'll be back next week. We wanted to try to do a weekly show, but we've had some problems with real life, so we are 3 weeks late on this episode. If we don't do it next week, we will do it the week after. We're going to try to get into a more consistent schedule and try not to lapse more than 2 weeks. All in all, it's been real. If you have any questions or anything for us, please hit us up on Twitter, send us messages. We will read them, check them, and we love talking to people and just hanging out and having a good time. So until then, until the next time, gentlemen, we'll all see everybody later.
See you later, guys. Thanks for coming to hang out with us.
Said the man with blind eye glasses.
Yeah, the thing I like to say is only 2 people wear sunglasses inside, blind people and assholes. So it looks like I'm an asshole.